Welcome back to the Balance Bully podcast for ambitious women in business and a few brave men. I'm your host, Naketa Ren. As always, I am ecstatic to be in the room with you today. All right, everybody. I want you to just anchor in a little bit deeper into your body, deeper into your seat, because this is going to be a sweet treat today for this episode. We have Marla Mervis-Hartman, the creator of Love Your Body, Love Yourself. She's guiding women towards embracing self-acceptance. Her personal journey, marked by struggles with food, exercise, and body confidence, underwent a transformation fueled by self-compassion. Currently residing in the lovely land of Maui with her family, Marla works as a full-time professional coach, TEDx speaker, author of Befriend Yourself, ED Recovery Center facilitator, and Reiki Master and teacher. Marla, welcome to the BBP. How are you today?
I am so good. I'm so glad to be here with you.
Same. So the first question I have for you is, why Maui? Of all the places.
Oh gosh. I mean, when I first came here for a friend's wedding, when I left, I thought I was having the vacation blues. And then I realized, no, my heart took me years. And I was like, oh no, my heart is aching. It wants to be here. So after many years of my husband wanting to be out of LA and then COVID happened, we're like, let's get out of here. And Maui was the only soft place. And why not Maui?
Yeah.
I mean, really.
Yeah, seriously. That's so amazing and encouraging because you followed your heart. And that was something like I had a feeling, I promise you guys, we did not talk about this in the green room. Absolutely not. But I had a feeling that it was something that pulled you forth to this land. And often, sometimes it's a job replacement. Somebody had to take a job, whatever the case was logistically. But the fact that you felt empowered to follow your spirit, to follow your soul, to follow your heart, and to convince your family to do the same is a big deal.
It didn't take any convincing.
No, really. They were like, let's go. We're out of here.
Yeah.
Oh, I love this.
Absolutely.
I love this so much. So I would love you to take us back a little bit. I'm assuming that a lot of your kind of person inside the professional challenges with eating, exercise, your body, confidence, all the things were pre-Maui. Were they pre-Maui?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would love for you to just take us a little bit on a journey of what was going on with you and when the shift into your self-compassion work, your self-acceptance work started.
Yeah. Well, my story, unfortunately, is not that unique to a lot of women specifically. I, grew up in a thin, strong, healthy body, but I got a lot of attention on it.
Yeah.
So I began to realize that my body was my worth. So you add that to diet society and, this society that we're living in, along with really not having the coping mechanisms that I needed. So all the way that I coped with life, all the stressors, I used dieting or I used overeating, emotional eating, obsessing about my body, obsessing about food. That became my way of dealing with life. And so the thing with disordered eating and the thing with exercise and food, obsession and all the things, it's so normalized in our society. And so many people would look at me and think that I was just a healthy thin woman, and really I was cuckoo crazy. My life was small and it was very much around what I looked like. And the thing is, Naketa, I don't come from big numbers.
Yeah.
And so when you look at my body, you wouldn't even maybe think like, oh, she's really sick right now. And oh, now she's fine. Like it's such an inside job.
Yeah.
Right. And so when I finally hit bottom, and I hit many bottoms, many nights of the soul of dark nights of the soul of, binging and just being like, this is my life. to the wow, control, 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 hit the number. I'm in control, hit the magic number. And then feeling like, wow, this is the worst time of my life. That number is not magical. That number on the scale did nothing for me but make me feel awful.
Yeah.
And so the thing with compassion and the thing with self-acceptance is it's a muscle. And it took me a long time to heal. It took a long time to get rid of all of the negativity, the voices in my head, society's views of me, right? Accepting myself for who I am, letting go of control. And for me, it's been a real spiritual journey. It has been the only way that I've gotten through this is by leaning on a higher power. And, what I love about your podcast is you really incorporate love and the energy of love, which I call God or higher vibration of love, into all of the aspects of our life. So, it's in the business, it's in the bedroom, it's in our romantic relationships, it's in our friendships, and it's in our relationship with ourselves. So the thing with food issues, diet culture, it is so evasive. It affects everything.
Yeah.
It doesn't just affect this place, right? I've been a confident person ever since I jumped out of my mom's womb, right? But however, there was a level of low self-esteem that didn't match really my soul's blueprint of like, I'm here to take on the world, because I didn't allow myself to be who I was, because quite honestly, sometimes it's scary to know your own power.
Come on.
Right. So I think we dumb ourselves down. It is such, and when I realized that it's not, and once again, it's not like I turned that flip. It's a muscle to like, okay, can I be seen? Can I allow myself to be seen in this? Okay, now let me retreat. Maybe I need to go and eat some food, and, and like, it's scary. And then, okay, it's a little bit more, and it's a little bit, people will come to me and they'll think that they're just on this journey of like, I'm binging a lot, and then all of a sudden I'm stopping. And no, it's cyclical.
Yeah.
It's like a longer time where you're not, and then maybe you do, and then a longer time, and then wow, I haven't binged, I haven't emotionally ate, I haven't dieted in a really long time, right? So, and that comes from this place of self-compassion. That comes from the understanding of who we are and being willing to look at some of what is underneath the hood and stop blaming it on the food and blaming it on our body, and really look at, where am I not loving myself? And where am I not showing up for myself in my life, in my relationships, in my work, in my passions, and all of it?
Yeah. The self-awareness is always where you have to begin, right? Like the fact that you recognize that there really is something out of alignment for you, that there's something that is not serving you in some way, regardless of how the world is patting you on the back. Like you said, looking at you, you would never think there was anything going on, or that you struggle with diets or eating or any kind of emotional challenges in that way, because you didn't take big 50-pound swings between body weights or anything, where most people assume that people who are going up and down, to that degree or larger, that's where it's obvious, where that may actually not be their issue at all. It could be something completely different, like shopping or over sexualizing their body, because they think that is where the power is, and all the other layers of so many vices that, we could go on for days with that particular challenge, but knowing that you had to do something different because what you were doing wasn't working for you. So I'm curious, just for everyone who's listening, like there were many, many bottoms, to your point, which was very honest and very vulnerable of you to share. What was that micro shift, if you remember? And I know it wasn't a big paradigm shift yet, but where was that micro shift pivot where you started to kind of go into the incline forward with momentum that felt like, oh, wow, I'm a ways away from where I came from. I'm a ways away from those nights thinking that I have to kind of go back and forth with binging and not, and being in control. It's been a minute. Do you remember that like first micro shift where you were like, that's it? This is this is the moment, that it's now or
Yeah,
never.
it's so interesting. It was when I was pregnant that I realized, oh my gosh, I think I'm better. Right.
Mm.
My son's 11 now. And so I remember being like, I think I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
My gosh. Right. So but since then, I still have these micro moments of like, oh, that's different.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm doing this different. I'm making these different choices. But one of the pivotal moments for me was when I was on the journey of the healing, right? I was in recovery. I was in a 12-step program at that time. I was doing therapy. I was doing a lot of Reiki. It's when I found Reiki.
Mm-hmm.
So that's an energy healing practice that really was instrumental to my healing with my body and my food. And I remember feeling, when is this going to change? And I remember just sitting in meditation and just being like so distraught and like, when am I going to have the freedom? Like, when is this going to lift? This is just so overwhelming. And it just is. And I remember hearing a voice, and the voice for me is the voice of God,
Mm-hmm.
or my highest self. And it said, let go,
Mm-hmm.
let go. Trust me. I have your food. I have your body. Let go. And it was in that moment, Naketa, that I said, no, I do not trust. I do not trust that if I let go, if I let go to that voice, to letting go my body and really turning it over to a higher power, I thought that I would get completely fat. I would let myself go. And for me, a lot of flesh meant no one's going to love me.
Right.
It was so scary. Like, who am I? Identity crisis. Right. And so this is that moment. I know you're probably thinking, and everyone's thinking like, she let go and then she did it. And it's like, no, I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that that was the answer. And for years and years and years, I would come back to that and I would be like, okay, I'm going to let go in this moment. For this moment, I'm going to let go for this. And what that would look like practically would be, I'm walking out the door. I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, no, this is what you look like, Marla. This is who you are right now. So what are you going to do about it? Nothing. You're going to go and you're going to live your life and you're going to have your day, because you're not going to lose 20 pounds before you walk out the door. Right. So then I would just go and live my life. And that was the sense of letting go.
Yeah.
And allowing myself to be. So once staying with, I guess, the theme of like creating this muscle of letting go, that moment was the moment. That's what I knew that I was headed for. I was headed for that recovery of fully letting go. And what has happened for me is completely the opposite, because letting go means listening.
Mm-hmm.
Letting go means listening to my body. And I did not want to listen to my body, because if I listened to my body, it was going to tell me to eat food,
Mm-hmm.
or it was going to tell me to, you're not full, you're full, you're done. And I completely shut all that down because I was in control.
Yeah.
And so I began to learn how to listen. I learned how, and I was an overexerciser, so I had to learn how to stop exercising, do kinder things for myself. And it was quite the opposite. Actually, there was at one point where I really let all that go, and I actually lost weight easily. Not that I was even trying to, but it was like, wow, it was almost like God was saying like, see, I gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say that that's the case, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people need more weight on them, and they're not allowing that,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I'm not pushing, listen to your body, love your body, and then you're going to lose weight. That's not what I share. Sometimes that happens as the symptom. It is a byproduct of actually listening to ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's been the journey for me, and it continues to this day.
Oh, I love that. So you said layers of gems in there. There was like, they were sewn all in there, from being kinder to yourself, which is important, so that you can at least get honest with what your resistance is. Your resistance was in the letting go. Like, you were like, yeah, I asked for the answer. I asked for it in my meditation and my prayer. I received the answer and I rejected the answer. I did not,
Right.
right? I did not want that answer at that time. So many of us can relate to that, right? Whether you are listening to this and you're like, I'm in a relationship with so and so. I asked for God to tell me if this is where I'm supposed to be, if this is the human. And I've been shown many, many times this is not the human that I am supposed to be in partnership with, and I'm rejecting it. It's okay. Just know that you are choosing that in that moment. You are choosing it. And in it, you still have power because you have power of choice. When you are ready, when you became ready, Marla, you were like, okay, I'm beta testing. I'm coming. Okay, let me do it for a moment. Let me try it out. Let me test it. So maybe in relationship to an actual romantic relationship, you're like, maybe I don't answer every text immediately when it comes through, right? Like maybe I just give a moment to let them sweat it out a little bit. Like let them breathe. Maybe if you're in a monogamous relationship with your spouse and you're having a hard time controlling your temper because they irritate your soul, whatever it is, maybe you beta test that with a little bit of like, all right, I normally would jump and react to this. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it a little different. I'm going to let it go, even if it's for 5 minutes, where maybe 5 minutes would have never gone by before. And then the next time it's 10 minutes, and then it's 2 days, and then it's 3 weeks. And then, Lord, before you know it, some of those things actually don't even matter anymore. You have more control. So I hear you talking about the beta testing of your effort to kind of build the muscle to trust your inner brilliance, which is very hard. As simple as it is a very hard thing to do. And I want to acknowledge that for everyone listening, that I don't hear Marla saying, this is easy. I hear you saying this is work. It can be beautiful work in the outcome, but it can feel a little brutal in the process. And just being honest about that, which is why it's important to, if you can, and if you're privileged to hire a guide to support you in this process, to have accountability and preferably strategy, because there are going to be some technical, mechanical things that you can do along the way that will be really supportive. And it doesn't make you weak because you want someone who is more experienced than you in this particular part of the process to support you in it. And I hope everyone is really hearing that, because a lot of people are in resistance to guidance, help, support, advisory, coaching, therapy, whatever the layer may or layers may be, because they feel like Instagram will think that they're weak because they're, having support from someone. And I want you to really hear that it makes you stronger when you're big enough and bold enough and brave enough to say, hey, Marla, I need a little support with this because this actually has been a struggle for a minute and I'm over it.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And the issue that I have seen is that because it's so normalized to be struggling with our body and our food, and it's talked about amongst friends, and oh, how much weight did you gain? Did you lose? Food, da da da. It's so normalized that people don't actually realize the effect that it's having on our lives. And there's this low grade suffering that is always present. There's this voice in the head that's always talking down. There's a voice in the head that's always managing the food, or whatever your journey is, whatever your story is. And that becomes so normalized for yourself that you don't even realize what your life could look like. And so it's the investment in the time, investment in the money, investment in yourself to go, no, I actually am worth not having this low grade annoying thing in my life. And that we don't have to get to the bottom in order to do something kind for ourselves, show up for ourselves. And, a lot of people I've had many clients say to me, it's like, well, I just don't understand. I don't understand why I struggle with this so much. I haven't had any huge traumas in my life. My family, they love me. And I grew up in that too. I grew up in a loving family. My parents are still married for, almost 55 years now. But we all have moments in our life where we aren't met the way that we want. You can call it a big T, you can call it small T's, trauma, big trauma, small trauma. And the reason I bring that up is because it's these micro moments of not receiving love.
Yeah.
And food is love. And sometimes they get crossed over as nourishment, right? Whether it's a mother wound or just not actually being seen the way that we needed to be seen, and we don't even know, right? So it's this kind of elusive, like, what's wrong? What am I actually? And I think it continues. I mean, I have a very interesting relationship with chocolate, and I've had it ever since I was younger.
Yeah.
And I've had a journey of eating a lot of it. Then I've had it when I first came into recovery. I let go of all sweets and got freedom. Then I kind of brought that back and had balance, and then it got way out of control. So, and the reason I'm sharing this with you is to share that there's the continual, like, I'm continually learning how to love myself.
Yeah.
And because my coping mechanism has always been food, right? We all have our coping mechanisms, whether it's smoking a cigarette or whether it's food or whether it's sex or whether it's acting out and yelling at your family.
Or overworking.
Holy moly, right? So when we're stressed, these coping mechanisms are going to come up. So instead of making it about the coping mechanism, we can actually look and be like, oh, this is up right now. This is a sign that I need more love. So for me, when anything shows up in my life that all of a sudden I look in the mirror and say something snarky to myself, or I all of a sudden I'm doing something weird with my food, it's this red flag. Or pink flag, I like to say, because I like to catch them when they're really light pink before they're red, right? I can be like, oh, this is a sign that some part of me needs attention and care and love. So we're not making ourselves wrong in having these coping mechanisms. We're not, and that's what I often see, whether it's food or whatever, there's so much shame in the behavior that we stay in the shame of the behavior without actually addressing the compassion, the love, the healing that can actually be done for ourselves and with ourselves.
Yeah, I think a good kind of framing of that is you're strong, not wrong, right? Like when you're able to really see that there's some space for growth. There's love gaps, as I call them. It's you notice them, that's fine. Before they become a chasm, let's close those love gaps, including with yourself. And if that means that you have to be a little bit more compassionate with yourself, practice the muscle building technique of just saying something kind when you're brushing your teeth. Ooh, there are 2 shades whiter today, right? You know, like, or whatever it is, or, oh, those eyebrows are thicker than a Snickers, you know, whatever it makes you feel good when you're looking at you instead of looking at, oh goodness, I have another mole or a blemish, or, you know, I'm thinning, or, you know, if you're a human of a certain age, you're graying, you know, or you're thinning in certain places in your hair and your scalp and your headline, like whatever is happening with you, instead of overly focusing on that, maybe start to build that muscle that Marla is talking about by saying something kind to yourself and then going deeper and deeper. And also, when you're comfortable enough to do the work. Because one thing, I don't know about you, Marla, but one thing I will not tolerate is someone saying they're ready, but they're not willing to do the work in terms of a client. I haven't had to fire a lot of clients, but I have had to fire them because it's a co-creation process. I need you. You can't just say, I'm ready. Great, Naketa, I've been waiting to work with you, sign on the dotted line, sign the contract, but then you're not actually showing up fully. You're not actually willing to do the work. You just really wanted a girlfriend to talk to. I'm a really expensive girlfriend, and I don't want, you know, I'm a really amazing investment if you're looking for an outcome. But if you're just trying to appease a superficial side of yourself by saying, I hired Marla to help me with this, to support me in this, and between her Reiki Master techniques and all of the things, but when you're coming to session, you're making excuses for why you're not able to actually contribute to the process by being honest with where you are in that moment, it can really make things really challenging. And I'm sure you've had to deal with a gamut of people in the different stages of where they are in the process. But I'm also assuming that your best work is when they're ready and they're willing.
Yes. And, you know, it's, you know, I'm at what I notice is is that there are different layers, right? There's the people that come to me because they've done everything else and they're like, I don't even care. I just want to feel good.
Yeah.
And then there's some people will come and will be like, they're still wanting the diet.
Mm,
They're still wanting me to give them the food
okay.
protocol. I'm like, I'm not going to tell I'll support you in making healthier choices for you. And we can pull that apart and look at that from this emotional and, loving place. But I'm not going to say, eat these foods. No one
Yeah.
needs another freaking diet. And I'm sure is not going to tell someone what to eat.
Yeah. That's a really
Right.
good distinguishment for the people who are listening to you. Like, am I ready? Right? Like, am I working? I love that you pointed that out, because there are people who are going to visually look at you on the beautiful show bill that's created with this episode and be like, oh, I want her body. I want it to
Right.
look like her. And there's nothing wrong with, appreciating another human and how they look and all that and admiring it, but also knowing that getting a restrictive, rigid diet to release a ton of weight isn't what you're doing with people. That's a really good
No,
distinguishing point.
I can help people let go of that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things that I'm really good at, because I think that we all need to work on that,
Mm-hmm.
because it's so much in our space and so much in our mind, and we were brought up in it, and it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So, one of my specialties is helping people with that and allowing them to actually get to the place where they feel good in their bodies. And if they don't feel good in their bodies, they know what to do with that. I mean, there's certain times, it's just like, I don't feel, I'm feeling blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all right, well, that's just the way it is. Can I go live my life now?
Right.
Not all about how great I feel about my body, right? It's like,
Mm-hmm.
I have a life to live. I have people to love and people to serve. And that's what I'm here for.
No, I love it. I want to hear a little bit, if you don't mind, about why you decided to write Befriend Yourself.
So I was really feeling into, like, how can I share my journey?
Yeah.
And how can I do it in a way? And what is the actual element of what do I actually do?
Mm-hmm.
And all these years of supporting people. And it's just like, oh, I help them to be their own best friend,
Mm-hmm.
to befriend themselves. And when we really look at what being a friend is and how we show up for others, and how can we do that for ourselves? Because at the end of the day, healing our relationship with our body and our food is a journey of becoming our own best friend. And then how that just goes out into the whole world. So I'm really excited to share this book. It's memoir, it's
Mm-hmm.
self-helpy, but not too self-helpy. It's really my raw journey. It's funny, it's witty, it's real, it's raw. It's not me holding back anything. And I think a lot of people will be able to relate to it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. As someone, my book, Selfish, is survivor memoir, personal transformation story. I tell people all the time, if you're looking for something that lists out a bunch of how-tos, this isn't it, because that wasn't where I was coming from when I was,
Right.
the outcome and purpose is to share hope and victory over whatever you feel is defeating you from within. So I biasly appreciate you writing this book for that reason. Which is awesome. So when you're not writing, and now because the writing is done and you're almost done and you're ready to go into the next phases, at the time of the releasing of this recording, the book is like literally pre-order sales booming, about to come out in just a few short weeks. And when you're, obviously not doing all the beautiful things on the island that you do with your family and working with your clients, how are you giving yourself permission to pause?
Oh gosh, that's a whole other episode. Jeez, Naketa. It's such a journey, right? For me, it's literally meditating.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally me lying on my lanai, on my couch on my lanai, and just saying, you're not going anywhere.
Nice.
You're going to lie here until you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been quite a journey for me too. And Reiki has really helped that for me.
The stillness.
The stillness, the releasing of the stress to be able to do that. So,
yeah, that's a big deal. I can't tell you how many people struggle with being still, let alone being still with themselves. That's a sign of a lot of good work has been done, and you're open to the new levels of evolving and expanding, and it's going to require a new version of your stillness. So that speaks volumes.
Thanks for asking.
You're welcome. How can people connect with you and get more with Befriend Yourself?
Yeah, so we're going to put the pre-order link below. So if you'd like to, you can pre-order that. And you're going to get a lot of goodies with that. You're going to get a workshop. You're going to get one of my free course. I'm going to give you a free course, Body Compassion Collective. So that's a great way to start. Also, I have a free course, Breaking the Cycle of Emotional Eating. And it's a free course, but it's really full.
Yeah.
Like I don't hold back in that. Like I give everything that I can in that course. So feel free to check that out if that's something that you struggle with. And then of course you can always follow me on Instagram and ask me questions. I'm here, like I'm available. Email me, say, this is what's up. This is what I'm happening. I have a Facebook group you can join. So yeah, there's a lot of ways to connect. And if you're ready to jump in, you just let me know because I gotcha.
No, I love that. And I know your home site is loveyourbodyloveyourself.com.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yes. I'm always looking out, Marla. I'm always looking out. No, that was perfect. Thank you so much for carving out time. I know it's really early for you over in the island of Maui, where you get to relax and enjoy what I hope is beautiful weather today.
It's good.
Yeah, it's good. You did that as a very confident nod to like, oh yeah, Naketa, I'm sure you wish you were over here right now. And I probably do. Thank you again for carving out time. We know that your time is valuable and we honor you showing up so fully.
Thank you, Naketa, for having me.
You're welcome. Balance Boldly listeners. All right. If you are new to the BBP, then you are not sure that you are ready for this moment, but I can promise you are. I have two very bold asks. And for all of the repeat listeners, thank you so much for continuing to listen to us every single week since 2016. We do have, of course, our two favorites. The first ask, think of one person beyond yourself in your ecosystem that can really benefit from hearing Marla's story. Whether they are suffering to your knowledge with actual eating disorder or not, but if you know that they are not loving themselves the way that they should, if they're not being their own best friend, please think of this person right now, top of mind, and share this episode with them immediately. The second thing I ask is for you to go and enjoy the balance of your day. But remember, do it boldly.